and it says evaluating the Browns backfield, possible value of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in fantasy 2020.
Right here.
If you're watching us on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit the like button, drop us a comment. And if you're following us on any of those social media platforms, hit us up in our DMs. We actually encourage slides into our DMs. We support that. But Johnny, it's time, dude. Let's jump into this. Our first topic is us evaluating the Browns backfield, Johnny, because we've had some things happen here towards the end of last year, right? Nick Chubb was kind of dominating as far as fantasy football is concerned at the running back position, at least for the Browns. He finished the year as the running back 6, but towards the end of the year when Kareem Hunt came back from suspension, his carries did go down, his usage did go down. And so I guess the question here, Johnny, when we were cruising on Reddit, we saw this, evaluating the Browns backfield as this situation possible. So this was posted by u/Scun1995, and it says evaluating the Browns backfield, possible value of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt in fantasy 2020. So, Johnny, what are your initial thoughts on the two of these guys, and maybe go guy by guy here?
The Cleveland Browns last year were kind of a little bit of a train wreck, but in that train wreck, you did have these little bright spots of Nick Chubb dominating his position last year, having over 1,400 scrimmage yards, Travis, almost 1,500 scrimmage yards, and almost 300 carries, 298 carries last year. So you look at what they did in this for this Cleveland Brown offense, right? They ship out their old coach, they bring in their new head coach, and I just want to make sure that I'm not messing this up. I believe
Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah, thank you, I can't even say it. I'm not even
Stefanski.
Thank you. Appreciate that breakdown there.
Hooked on phonics, dude.
Hey, hooked on phonics. Gotta love it. But what does he do as a head coach? What do we know that he likes to do as a head coach? He likes to run the ball, and he is going to run the ball a lot. He was previously the offensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. He was that new man on the Minnesota Vikings, and that everyone likes to talk about. And so coming over Cleveland Browns, he's going to implement a run-heavy offense. Now, this bodes well for Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, but here is some concerns for Nick Chubb, Travis. You mentioned Kareem Hunt coming in. What did we see at the end of last year when Kareem Hunt came in? He just started getting a lot more of the receiving yards, where Nick Chubb can receive. He was getting that last year. He got receptions out of the backfield. But when when Kareem Hunt came back in, that was when he kind of took over that kind of role, and we know how explosive Kareem Hunt can be. So Nick Chubb was the RB5 last year, and for me, it's hard for me to say, even with the uptick and the new offensive or the new coach, I'm not sure if I see a RB5 return for Nick Chubb. But I definitely do think that he'll be a top 10 running back for sure. I just don't know if he has that top 5, like Dalvin Cook was a top 5 running back last year.
Yeah, and I like that you brought up Minnesota. You talk about that. I will say that in Minnesota, and Stefanski goes back, he wasn't just coordinator there. He grew up in the system, so he lived under Mike Zimmer, and some of this run-first heavy offense play to the defense. They definitely want to feature. They have 2 Pro Bowl caliber backs in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. They definitely want to feature the backs here. A little bit of a snapshot of what happened last year. Nick Chubb, through the first 10 games while Kareem Hunt was still suspended, had 5 top 15 finishes on the week for fantasy football. When when Kareem Hunt came back, weeks 10 through 17, he only had 2 of those top 5 finishes, or top 15 finishes. So you're talking about a situation where, yes, look, Kareem Hunt didn't have one game over 10 carries last year. We get that. But he had, several games over 5 receptions. So they're going to bring him in as a change of pace guy, and he's going to siphon off the upside of Nick Chubb. But this shouldn't scare you away from Nick Chubb. Just you need to temper expectations when you're looking at Nick Chubb, because like Johnny said, a top 5 finish is probably not in the cards if Kareem Hunt is healthy and they're taking some of those carries away.
I think the interesting thing about Kareem Hunt in this scenario, just jumping in, I mean, I was looking it up. Kareem Hunt played 32 games since 2017, and of that, he still ranks second place for the number of missed tackles since that time. So Johnny talks about explosive. He broke 123 tackles in 32 games. Derrick Henry places ahead of him, 136 missed tackles, but that's in 47 games. So Kareem Hunt is like dynamite, explosive. To rank second in broken tackles with just with 17 games behind Derrick Henry, that's crazy. And
I
Kareem Hunt was facing a tremendous suspension, and I don't know. I just think this is going to be his come back. Remember who I was year.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If you look at what he did, he will be getting the Alexander Madison role and maybe expanded a little bit. But you looked at what Alexander Madison got last year, and he got between 7 and 14 touches per game. Well, that was kind of what Kareem Hunt was getting down the stretch last year. And Travis, look at these finishes down the stretch here. Week 12 against Miami, he was RB 15. Week 13 against Pittsburgh, he was RB 13. Week 14, he was RB 15. RB 17, week 15. RB 37, he dropped off on week 16 and 17. But
I think back to the point I was saying before, you talk about top 15 finishes for Nick Chubb down the stretch, and basically Kareem Hunt eclipsed him. I think Chelsea's point about the explosiveness, the elusivity, all of that is there for Kareem Hunt. That's why he led the league in rushing as a rookie. That's why he was so powerful in that Chiefs offense. And an offensive mind like Kevin Stefanski is going to come in there and put him in space and let him do his thing. We're seeing it across the league. We've seen it for a few years. They want to have, these offenses want to have multiple backs within the system. It's just so happens Cleveland's got two really good backs here.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be afraid of drafting Nick Chubb, but I also wouldn't be afraid of taking a stab at Kareem Hunt. You're going to get some value for where he's going, and he's not just your typical handcuff.
Right. He has the upside of being a league winner.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.